Hey y'all, Farmer Dre back at it. It's another beautiful day here on the farm. Nice, sunny, nice and warm. We are finally getting some sunshine. The rain is gone. But today, I'm gonna talk to you guys about why I only grow determinate tomato plants. If you guys are not familiar with the difference between a determinate and an indeterminate tomato plant, the indeterminate or vine typing tomatoes are vine typing, meaning that they will continue growing like a vine all summer long, and as long as the apical meristem or the growing point is still healthy and still growing, the tomato plant will continue growing for the full length of the season. If you're in an enclosed greenhouse and you're able to keep it warm all winter long, a tomato plant will stay green. An indeterminate or vine typing tomato variety will keep on growing for many years. Out in Japan, there's a few tomato plants that are alive that have been in the ground for 20 to 30 years. So these types here on this side of the greenhouse here, they are indeterminate or vine type. They just keep on growing. And the way we grow them on our farm, we only grow them for one season. So we grow them, we keep on tying this growth point here, the apical meristem there. Just keep on letting it grow, keep on twisting on the wire, and it'll grow until we either kill them off or they just die off from disease or anything else. So these are the indeterminate tomato plants. So the determinate tomato plants or bush type tomatoes, it is what it says. It's a bush tomato. So these plants, they'll grow to a determined size, set on all their fruit, and the plants will die off. And 95% of the time, whenever they're done growing, these plants here, I could show you how they're done growing, because the apical meristem ends off in a flower shoot instead of having leaves to keep on growing. So like right here, this cluster right there, it ended off in a flower. That means this tomato plant is done growing for the season. So it's gonna go ahead and put on all its fruit and go ahead, we'll harvest everything off and the plant will just die off. So in a nutshell, that is the difference between a determinate and an indeterminate tomato plant. There's more and more that could go on, and you'll get complicated and scientific about it, but that's my version of comparing the two. And as you guys heard me say, and by the title of this video, is why I only grow determinate. You're probably thinking, what are you talking about? Because you have indeterminates in your greenhouse here. So if you guys have been following the channel for a while, you know that I've been trying to up production in here and trying to keep these make the tunnel here as productive as possible. And before the tomato school went on, I thought that the indeterminates are a couple weeks earlier than the determinates, but I had that mixed up. The determinate tomato plants, the bush type, are earlier than the indeterminate. You can see that now. We started harvesting. I've already picked 50 or 60 pounds out of here so far this season, and I could tell these determinate tomato plants, these varieties here, have been way more productive than these on right here. So moving forward now, I'm only gonna plant the determinates. Don't get me wrong, indeterminates are a beautiful tomato plant. They produce a lot of tomatoes, but for our operation, we only grow determinates. And years past, I only grew determinates, bush type. This year, I experimented once again with these indeterminates, just trying to see if I like them, and I keep forgetting why I don't like them as much, so I keep planting more and I keep on coming with the same result. And here are some of the reasons why I don't like growing indeterminate tomato plants. Real quick, look at these indeterminates here. All the clusters are looking beautiful. They're growing nice. They're big fat tomatoes all the way to the top there. They're still flowering, keep on producing. Look at the production on these, absolutely beautiful. You're probably thinking, Dre, why are you only gonna grow determinates if those tomato plants look so well? So I'm gonna give you guys a few tips here, or share some of the ideas and a few pointers, and explain what works on our farm and why we do things on our farm the way we do them. Every operation is different, every farmer is different, every greenhouse is different, but the biggest thing, you gotta find what works for you, and that's the most important part. Because I could tell you guys only grow determinates, but if you like growing indeterminates and they work for your operation, go for it. I mean, don't let anybody stop you. You gotta find out what works for you first, and this works for me here on our farm. So here on our farm, tomatoes isn't our only crop. Tomatoes is just one of the crops that we do grow here on the side. Our orchard, our farm, is mainly an apple and peach orchard, And our goal now is to have fresh fruit you pick May through October. So we start off with strawberries, we have blueberries, blackberries, peaches, apples, and that's the bulk of our crop. That's why we have the 55 acres out there of fruit and tomatoes on our farm. The more and more time passes by, and the more we're focusing more on the orchard side of things, on the fruit side of things, the less and less time I have to spend. So slowly and surely, I mean, I'm spending less time here in these tunnels. The reason we are growing tomatoes, first of all, it's one of the highest cash crops that someone can ever grow on a per acre basis, or even on the square footage basis. If you take the square footage of a tunnel of tomatoes at the end of the season compared to like strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, tomatoes is always the highest. And everybody loves farm fresh tomatoes, so we will never stop growing tomatoes because everybody loves them and we're able to sell them. We have the demand for them, we have the market for them. But like I said, as years go on, we are diversifying more and more, and tomatoes won't be my prime crop anymore. It never has been, but we just focus a lot of time and our energy on tomatoes. But as years go on, you know, we're gonna be doing a whole lot more out in the orchard, out in the field. And tomatoes is one of those things where we're gonna be doing them, but I gotta figure out how to spend the least amount of time as possible. So on these indeterminates, they grow really nice, they're beautiful plants. The only thing is you gotta come through here weekly and stake them and prune them and tie them up. And that takes a long time. It probably takes 1 or 2 minutes per plant. And whenever you have a high tunnel full, is anywhere from 500 to 600 plants, you're spending anywhere from, you know, 500 to 600 minutes. I don't know how you calculate, you could calculate that in hours, but it's a lot of time. You could spend 20 man hours a week in a tunnel like this, a 30 by 96, just maintaining and growing these indeterminates. And here on our operation, I don't have 20 man hours a week to put in for these tunnels because we're so busy on the other side of our operation, on the fruit side of our operation. So one of the biggest reasons why I grow determinate tomato plants is because the amount of labor involved in the difference between indeterminates and determinates. With these determinates, it's much easier to grow, and this is just from my experience and what I've seen growing tomatoes. In number 3 there, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys those tomatoes, but I could go through there 10 to 20 minutes a week and stake them. While I'm staking them, I'm monitoring for disease and issues, but other than that, I am not spending any more time a week other than 10, 15, maybe an hour a week inside a tunnel. See, for us, time is money, so if I'm spending less and less time doing one thing, I can focus on doing something else on our farm. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I prefer to grow determinates over indeterminates, is because the amount of time and energy spent into growing them and training them and making sure the plants are looking good. And the more and more tunnels we put here on our farm, the less time I have to spend in each tunnel. Whenever we had only the first tunnel, if I would have spent 2 to 3 hours in there a day, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But now I have to spend that 2 to 3 hours on all 3 tunnels, so I gotta create the most productive system that requires the least amount of time from my part, my energy to come and produce these. So I'm out here in number 3 right now, and like I said, I come through here, put the string on my hip here, on my waist, come through here, stake them up once a week, and that probably takes 10 to 15, 20 minutes, maybe half hour at a time, and then I'm done for that week in the tunnel. I come in here early mornings, turn on the irrigation, turn on the water, and that's about it. From a production standpoint and from growing them, that's all it takes from my side. So that's, like I said, that's the biggest reason we grow determinates over indeterminates here on our farm. So these tomato plants are planted the middle of April. So look at these. They've got a nice, healthy leaves on them. They're starting to set a lot of fruit down in the first cluster, second cluster of tomatoes. Dig through here, look at that. The first clusters there are setting fruit. Second cluster are setting fruit. These plants are looking nice and healthy, and we will go ahead and hopefully start harvesting here within 4 weeks. So for the amount of time and energy spent on these determinate tomato plants and the return of production, so in years past, like last year, I was able to produce 26 pounds per plant on these determinates, and that's with me putting very little inputs and putting little labor cost into that, just because, like I said, it takes me about an hour a week to come through here with this tunnel, stake them up, making sure they're nice and clean, healthy plants, and that's about it. On these other tomato plants, the indeterminates, You'll get same production, even a little more if you pedicure them and manicure the plants. But like I said, the time and energy spent into producing them doesn't make sense for here on our farm. Like I said, your operation might be different. Your operation might focus on tomatoes a lot more than we do. But whenever you're running 55 acres of fruit, you know, tomatoes is one of those crops, like we got to get them done. Make sure we got a system figured out, and then we're done for. So one of the other bigger reasons that we only grow determinate tomato plants here on our farm is the flavor of these varieties that we grow. The tomatoes that we do grow mainly here on our farm, we grow, the staple of our variety is Red Deuce, and we grow that. I mean, we got 6 rows in here. We got a bunch planted in the field. A lot of them will be going to number 2 here, and the other ton on the other side of the farm. Mainly Red Deuce. Red Deuce is our main variety that we plant here on the farm, just because the flavor of that variety is phenomenal. It's you can't beat it. You can't compare it. Even the Big Dinas, the variety that are the Indeterminates, are not even just as close as good in flavor as the Red Deuce. So for me, variety selection, and we found a variety that really works well for us. It has a really good flavor. It's easy to grow, and that's what we found. You know, we did a lot of research. We found the variety that works for us, and now that we found that variety that's really good in flavor, easy to grow, that's what we're sticking to. So if they make an Indeterminate Red Deuce, which is I don't think they can make one or whatever, breed one for anyways, but if they would do that, maybe, you know, I'll try some of those, see how I like them. But the main reason that we grow, other than time and labor and energy from the plant standpoint, is the flavor of the Red Deuce is just phenomenal. So this is my 4th year in a row growing the Red Deuce, and our customer base, our customers at the market, here in our farm store, at all our farmers markets we go to, our customers fell in love with the Red Deuce. And you know, me talking to the customers and selling them the product, I tell them what variety. So whenever they come and buy tomatoes, they tell me, I want Red Deuce tomatoes. So I already trained them. So for me, my customers love the variety. Yeah, I love the variety, so that's what we're sticking to, and mainly growing that variety. So that is the second reason why we only grow determinate tomato plants here on our farm. I gotta mention real quick that Red Deuce is a high tunnel variety. So it was bred, and it is the research, all the research that was done on Red Deuce is for high tunnel production. We do grow some out in the field. They don't yield as well, just because they're meant to be grown under plastic in a protected culture. So the ones out in the field, you know, they do okay, and I'm going to talk about the field tomatoes probably in a different video on why we grow them the way we do. But keep in mind that Red Deuce is a high tunnel variety. So I would say those are the 2 biggest reasons why I grow determinate tomato plants here on our farm, and that pretty much sums it up. I mean, I could go into the small nitty-gritty stuff on time and energy and pruning them and whatnot, but overall, the reason we grow determinate tomato plants here on our farm is because the time and energy spent into pruning them and producing the plants, and then the flavor of this variety we grow is just absolutely amazing. Our customers love it, we love it, easy to grow, and that's all that matters. So like I said, every operation is different. Every farmer that I talk to, even in this area, they have their own varieties they grow. You know, they have their own customer base. But for us here on our farm, this is why we only grow these determinate tomato plants, and I hope I was able to help some of you guys out to let you guys know and some of the insight of why we do what we do here on our farm. And like I said, this works for us on our farm. It might not work for your farm. It might work for your farm. Like I said, we did a lot of research and tried growing the varieties. My first year I grew a bunch of different varieties just to see what works and what doesn't work, and I came across Red Deuce. I love it. 4 years in a row, and many more years to keep on growing the same variety. Alrighty, y'all, so this is gonna be pretty much it for today. Like I said, there's some of the reasons why we only grow the determinate here on our farm, and you got to find out what works for your operation and try things out, see what works, see what doesn't work, and then you'll find a variety that you'll love and that's easy to grow as well. So this is where I'm gonna go ahead and end off the video. If you guys haven't already, go and hit that subscribe button, go in and smash that like button if you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget, hit that notification icon so you guys can be notified whenever I do upload a video. I want to say thanks for watching up to this point. You guys have a good day, and we will see you next time.